बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम नहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिल करीम जनाब मोहम्मद शफीक साहब मिनिस्टर फॉर स्पेशल एजुकेशन Dr. Rebecca Fox from George Mason University, Dr. Hamid, Dean School of Social Science, Dr. Seema Arif, Chairperson Department of Economics, Sajid Masood, representatives from various universities, organizations working for the cause of special education and inclusive education, members of faculty and my dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I wanted to first of all draw attention to the model, a 6-point model that has been summarized in the message in your booklet by Dr. Rebecca Fox. I think that is very useful framework, and it includes almost everything that we need to do to make inclusive education successful and effective and efficient. So that model is very illuminating, and each point needs several pages in order to go into the details, but that suffices in many ways for our needs. So thank you very much for handing over that framework to us. I'm also grateful to the speech made by Dr. Mead and Dr. David Rodriguez from Lisbon. And actually, what could be more apt reflection of inclusive education than the fact that here are faculty members from United States of America, Dr. Rebecca Fox and Anna Monoa, and someone from Lisbon, and so many other people from who have sent their papers and wanted to talk about this topic. So, given where we were 10 years back, when this topic was not in the mainstream of academic discourse, and it was considered as a sideline, as yes, okay, we need to do something about it, and we always thought of those people as the other, who actually also think of us as the other. So we were not really fully attentive to their needs, but then we have moved on since then, and I'm grateful that it is the unique honor and privilege of UMT to hold this conference successively for second year. I'm grateful to Dr. Abdul Hamid, who has been the champion of this cause for a long time. It has been his lifelong mission. So I'm grateful to the good work that he has done. His heart and soul is in this field, and he goes all around the world talking about it. So we are really privileged to have him with us now. There are two misunderstandings or two clarifications that I would like to first emphasize upon. Number one, education, and those who are in education know it very well, that has been a vehicle to produce citizens who can be productive for the state, nation state, and who can remain obedient, cooperative, and participative in the order of the state, and be I would be hesitant to say, but more often than not, it is correct, subservient to the state. So the whole education system has been geared accordingly. So now, with this in background, we ended up with a system which assumes and which projects sameness and uniformity. And we think that all those pupils who are sitting before us Their faces are also in that age look alike. Their haircuts are same, their uniforms are same, their heights are same. So we expect sameness and we expect similarity. And anyone who is devoid of that, who betrays or who is different, who is hyperactive or who is passive, we consider them as abnormal. So that is the dilemma that we face even in the normal schools for the normal. And it is very frequent that when parents go to teachers meeting, teachers are showering them with the complaints that, oh, your child is not listening, he is not stationed as the furniture, he is different from the furniture, he moves, and he moves sometimes uncontrollably, irresistibly, and he shouts and he raises voices, he is not cooperative, and he is detrimental to the discipline of the class. So he doesn't shut up, he doesn't shut down. So we expected that predictability in the classroom, and we have suffered from that, even the normal schools. So starting from that, which was an education system to project and propel an authoritative system, especially in this region, in our region, I believe that it was no surprise for us that we have totally ignored the needs of those who are actually physically noticeably different, and their difference is manifested in their self apparently. And so we mostly thought of them as unusable, as a burden over the state, because the state is geared to educate people for productivity, for their contribution to GNP. And these guys, they are a burden on families, burden on themselves, burden on the state, and they're not looked at positively. That negative notion about those especially special people has been the part of our social fabric and social norms, and that has really it has caused destruction of those. It has caused them to remain outside of the mainstream. There were never bridges. There were no interconnectedness. They have a different family. They have different social setting. They have different language, and they were outcast from the main. I experienced this more clearly, of course, because one of my brother, we are a family of 6, and one of my brother is deaf, and we have lived with him for so long. So I know very well how he was dealt with, what kind of behavior he faced when he went to school, and what kind of prejudices and biases he felt when he was in the social setting, especially here. So he's doing very well now. He did a master's from Bristol University, studied at Royal School for Deaf in the UK, and is now going through another master's, and is actually head of the Muslim community of deaf in UK. So I suggested to Dr. Hamid, who also has deaf in his family, that please invite him next time. It would be, I think, very useful. Now, my thought is driven towards the idea that how can we make this inclusive more inclusive? How can we reinforce the spirit of inclusiveness and enhance the spread of inclusiveness? So that has been my thought, and since I also read that Dr. Rebecca's brief, so I was able to draw upon that thought. So here is a very brief, some very brief 10 points that I would like to share with you, especially those who are educators and researchers in this field. Number 1, in principle, and I'm very glad that Mr. Mohammad Shafiq is also with us. We have seen how good he was when he was Minister for Industries, and now he's into this very important area. We look forward to his leadership in this area. So thank you very much for coming to us. So number one is, of course, the basic idea is that we all expect and deserve education, regardless of number one, gender, number two, social economic status, number three, religion, number four, location, number five, language, number six, race, and number seven, color. So I've listed these in the priority, in the order, the way we face these biases here in Pakistan. All right. So this is the list that I draw. That these are the various filters that work through, and they reduce the excess. They reduce the positive. They compromise the positive approach that we should have, and they also then fail us in providing the resources and developing the right policies, and also making sure that all provisions are there. So we abide by this universal belief and faith. It is also part of our constitution, yet we are not fully refreshed, aware and alert by what are the requirements of this. So this is the basic, fundamental, universal, agreement, and this is the kind of conviction that we all have. But we pay lip service to it, and we do not fully comply by it, and we do not do whatever is needful to make sure that we are free of all biases coming against this basic conviction. So that's the first level of inclusiveness, that we refresh ourselves of this conviction and its explanations and its bearing, its consequences, its implications. Second is then we have within our society marginalized people who are marginalized because of number one, poverty. They don't have resources, they don't have enough means to travel to school, they don't have enough means to buy books, and they cannot pay tuition. So there are people who are below the poverty line, and there are people who are above the poverty line, but they have large families and still they cannot meet both ends. So how they can pay for the students. So I know one person who educated all the sons, but didn't go far as the education of his daughters was concerned. And I asked him the reason. He said that I could pay for the transport cost of them, but not for the girls, because I have limited budget. So girls were only educated up to higher secondary, but boys went to graduate education. So these are the decisions that parents make. So the second level is to enhance the support system for those who are ready, who are aware of that yes, their sons and daughters must receive education, and they want to have it, but they are really constrained by their limited resources. So here we need to do something for especially those who are poor, and that's part of inclusive education. And then there are people who are disabled, whose learning abilities are different. I would not say impaired, I would say different. Each person in this world is a unique person. Each person has different kind of orientation and a portfolio of skills and attitude and mindset. So we have to take each person differently, and there are some people who are knowingly, apparently can be classified as different just because they cannot hear, they cannot see, they cannot walk, or they cannot speak. So we call them disabled, but I would say that they are unique in their learning abilities. I would not call them in any way lower than or less than those who we see that yes, they are seeing and they are hearing. Although we are able to hear and see, but many times we don't see things the way we should have, and we don't hear things the way we should, right? So third is a social, there are social issues. I know many locations in many village areas that to educate children is not seen as a worthy cause, and they think that it will not work for us. Once I went to a distant location in Sakkar, and in the morning I was supposed to go to the school assembly, because sometimes on my off days I go to distant schools for teachers training and to be there in the morning in school assembly. So here I was in Shikarpur, and I went to, in the morning I was driving towards the school, a small school in Sakkar with about 300 students. So when I was going to school, I saw two beautiful kids with almost blue eyes, and but with dirty clothes, and having a bag of for garbage collection, and standing on the near a garbage, and then picking up the waste and filling their bag. So I saw them. I was moved, and then we talked. I said, okay, we will pay for their education till the university. So we talked to their parents, we invited them, whatnot, we went through the whole exercise, but parents were not ready. Parents didn't allow us to educate those two beautiful, boys. It was really very hard for me to digest that how could they not, everything was given to them. This education was coming to them free, yet they were not ready. So I think there is a social problem which we have to identify, and we have to take care of that. Then there are vulnerabilities. I went in the tribal areas, and there I was told by a school principal that here people are accustomed to firing, day-long firing, and there are groups here, there, and they fire every day. But there is an agreement that at the time of school, when the children go to school, there will be no firing. At the time when they return to home from school, there will be no firing. So here we have a case when children are really vulnerable. Their life is at stake. They are going to school, but they may pay for their life for the sake of going to school. And teachers have great problems. But I was later on told by the same principal, and I'm talking of Adam Khail, that after 2-3 years, because of the agreement on school education, the need of schooling of their children, they gradually turn the whole area into a peaceful area, because then they say that okay, now students need to, in the evening they need to play, so there will be no firing during the play time. So then they said, okay, now we have this thing need or that need. So ultimately, all of the 24 hours was converted into a peaceful time. So security is an issue. That's the second level. Third level is, as I rightly pointed out by Dr. Rebecca Fox as well, that learning impairment is a lot of time it's about education. We can see these deaf people speaking a language, all right, talking in a language. So we need to find new languages so that blind, deaf, learning impaired others, they can communicate each other. So here's, I think, something we need to do with the ICT, information and communication technology, how we can develop a language which will make all of us bring all of us into conversation, into free, frank, natural, spontaneous discussion where we can show our expression and where we can discuss and talk. So there is something that we need to do in order to make this whole thing inclusive. So we have to work out the language. And then, not to mention that since English is the language, lingua franca in most of the schools, so here is a big bias that is at work in our schools when we try to teach in English, and English is not, and our teachers are not good in English. Where teachers, I was told by a professor in Punjab University that in his village he was taught KNOW, knowledge as knowledge. That this is knowledge, right? And this is the way it is happening. So I think we have to have a bold decision as to teach our students in a language which will work for them, which will develop their creative abilities, which will make them a better person, rather than imposing upon them a language which is different from their mother tongue, which is different from their local language, which is different from the national language, and totally a different language. So that's my third level. Fourth level is that we need to work for inclusive beyond sympathy. It's not just a social cause that we should be inclusive. It's not just a fashion. It is part of our governance and part of our society, part of our government, that we should be discrimination free in all respect. And we should believe in the inherent dignity and autonomy of a person. And we need to prepare our citizens for a responsible role as a global citizen, and arrange for and make it convenient for everyone to have full and effective participation in the society, and develop among our people a respect for differences in identity, differences in capacity, and differences in their outcomes, in their thinking. So there is a lot of social engineering that we have to do within ourselves. I am aware that Islam, which is our religion, has laid out a lot of things which are very supportive, but we even do not draw from our religion on these aspects. So that is very too bad. And so that is the, I believe, fourth level of inclusiveness. The fifth level of inclusiveness is again lifelong engagement, because people, they develop over a period of time. And right from early primary to tertiary education, we have to develop a whole system which is geared towards inclusive education, so that we can provide for evolving, developing and emerging needs of people. And they are inclusive. This part of including is both for the people whom we consider as normal and people who we consider as not normal or having differences. Sixth level is I have read there are some papers as well on this topic, barriers to inclusive education. There are some poignant, and stark barriers which are negating all efforts towards inclusive education. So we have to work with parents, with immediate family, and we have to work with negative attitudes of people in society, and also provide for accessibility and security and financial resources in order to overcome those marked barriers to inclusive education. At seventh level, I would suggest that I haven't seen any program in media which would create awareness. I haven't seen any innovation which would take care of this inclusiveness and will make it easy for students to learn and get educated. So I haven't seen any special programs even by academia. We at university are geared towards it. We have a department of special education. We have students enrolled in our normal programs, and we are trying to catering to those needs. But it is not university nationwide. So I would like to draw the attention of universities that, and here is one misunderstanding that we need to correct, that quality comes from the recruitment of the top-notch students, the best people who can speak, who can read fast, who can write, who knows the world, and who have come on the top of the list in the secondary and higher secondary school. That is the belief, and that is the basis on which universities recruit people. So for them, this is not quality. This is not serving the quality goal if we recruit these people. And I think we need to break that notion. We need to have explicit, not just quota in terms of quota. It is not the matter of quota, as I said. It is to be inclusive in terms of spirit and in terms of spread wholly. So I would suggest that universities have to work for recruitment, number one, of faculty, number two, recruitment in administration and services, and number three, then recruitment of students. So that is where universities haven't done even they haven't taken even the first steps, and this is what is telling, and this is what we need to do. Eighth level is a formation of an inclusive character. This is the character, and this character, if we are inclusive in our mindset, character bearing, I think we will also be a better global citizen, because we will be able to appreciate the differences, and we will be able to adapt to all the contrasts and differences, and we will be cognizant, and we will be collaborative, and we will be able to set up bridges and interconnect with all the differences, even despite the differences. So we need, if you want our citizens to be culturally intelligent, and if you want them to be conscientiously, behaving in this regard, then I think this is the kind of character that we need. Inclusive character, inclusiveness in the character, an urge to be inclusive and seeking inclusiveness. So I think that is required. At ninth level, I have a special mention. I would like to specially mention the hospitals, the health facilities, medical support, psychological support that is needed. Our hospitals don't have anything for these people. There are no doctors, there are no clinics working for. So if we have to cater to their medical needs, and there is nothing that you can find for these people. So that is another area of inclusiveness, ninth level. And my 10th and final level is some symbolic action. Through Minister Shafiq, I would like to convey to our Chief Minister that have someone as minister who is blind, who is deaf, have these people elected in the legislature. So this is the symbolic leadership that we should convey to others. I know that there was a British Home Minister who was blind, and and some other countries as well. So this would be good politics, if not only a good gesture. So I think we need to show that we are humans. We believe in the dignity of every human, and we need to and we cater to all these differences that are in our society. So that is the 10th level, some symbolic gestures and actions which would motivate us, encourage us. So these were some of the things that I wanted to mention, so that we can really embrace inclusiveness. I've seen the book. It is a really wonderful conference. This is the second, and I hope this will continue at UMT in future as well. Thank you very much.